I'm going to read chapter 17, how the balloon was launched. Before reading chapter 17, it's talking about chapter 16. Each company and Scarecrow, Tin Woodman, and Gold Lions went to the Oz, and the Scarecrow went to Oz, and the Oz gave Scarecrow the brains. So Scarecrow became smart. The brains give lots of knowledge to everyone. And Tin Woodman got hurt, and then Oz drilled his breast, and then he put the heart into the breast. And Oz gave lions part of liquid kind of medicines, and then so he told lions courage is from inside. So lion accepted Oz's advice, and then lion drank the liquid, and he became strong, and then he got courage. And Dorothy, and then Oz decided to make balloon for Dorothy. Okay, I'm going to read chapter 17 with the narrator, and then I hope, and then when I read many novels here, this post, and then I can be similar to his narrative voice. I mean, I think speaking English is just habit. It's considering many aspects, and then challenging the unspoken pronounced word syllables and sound, and then I can get to the sound by reading aloud and repeatedly. So it takes a long time to do that, to succeed in reading the story properly with the correct pronunciation. Here you go.
Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. Chapter 17. How the Balloon Was Launched. For 3 days, Dorothy heard nothing from Oz. These were sad days for the little girl, although her friends were all quite happy and contented.
The Scarecrow told them there were wonderful thoughts in his head, but he would not say what they were, because he knew that no one could understand them both.
And walked about, he felt his heart rattling around in his breast, and he told Dorothy he had discovered it to be a kinder and more tender heart than the one he had owned when he was made of flesh.
The lion declared that he was afraid of nothing on earth, and would gladly face an army of a dozen of the fierce Kalidars.
Thus, each of the little party was satisfied except Dorothy, who longed more than ever to get back to Kansas.
On the fourth day, to her great joy, they was sent for her, and when she entered the throne room, they greeted, "Presently, sit down, my dear. Think I found a way to get you out of this country."
"And back to Kansas?" she asked eagerly. "Well, I'm not sure about Kansas," said Oz, "for I haven't the faintest notion which way it lies."
"But the first thing to do is to cross the desert, and then it should be easy to find your way home." "How can I cross the desert?" she inquired.
"Oh," said the little man. "You see, when I came to this country, it was in a balloon."
"You also came through the air being carried by a cyclone, so I believe the best way to get across the desert will be through the air."
"Now it is quite beyond my powers to make a cyclone, but I've been thinking the matter over, and I believe I can make a balloon." "How?" asked Dorothy.
"A balloon," said Oz, "is made of silk, which is coated with glue to keep the gas in it, and I've plenty of silk in the palace, so it will be no trouble to make the balloon."
"Country, there is no gas to fill the balloon with, to make it float." If it won't float, remarked Dorothy, it will be of no use to us. True, answered Oz.
But there is another way to make it float, which is to fill it with hot air, and hot air isn't as good as gas, for if the air should get cold, the balloons would come down in the desert, and we should be lost,
exclaimed the girl. Are you going with me? Yes, of course, replied Oz. I am tired of being such a humbug.
If I should go out of this palace, my people will soon discover I am not a wizard, and then they would be vexed with me for having be in a circus again.
And it gets tiresome. I'd much rather go back to Kansas with you and be in a circus again.
I shall be glad to have your company, said Dorothy. Thank you, he answered.
Now, if you will help me sew the silk together, we will begin work on our balloon. So
Dorothy took a needle thread, and as fast as Oz cut the strips of silk into proper shape, the girl sewed them neatly together.
Green silk, then a strip of dark green, and then a strip of emerald green, for Oz had a fancy to make the balloon in different shades of the color about them.
It took 3 days to sew all the strips together, but when it was finished, they had a big bag of green silk, more than 20 was
it on the inside with a coat of thin glue to make it airtight, after which he announced that the balloon was ready.
But we must have a basket to load in, he said.
The soldier with the green whiskers for a big clothes basket, which he fastened with many ropes to the bottom of the balloon.
When it was all ready, Oz sent word to his people that he was going to make a visit to a great brother wizard who lived in the
city, and everyone came to see the wonderful sight.
Oz ordered the balloon carried out in front of the palace, and the people gazed upon it with much variety.
Pile of wood, and now he made a fire of it, and Oz held the bottom of the balloon over the fire so that the hot air that rose from it would be caught in the silken bag.
Gradually, the balloon swelled out and rose into air, until finally the basket just touched the ground. Then Oz got into the basket and said to all the people in a loud voice,
I am now going away to make a visit. While I am gone, the Scarecrow will rule over you. I command you to obey him as you would me.
The balloon was by this time tugging hard at the rope and then held it to the ground, for the air within was hot, and this made it so much lighter in weight than at the air,
that it pulled hard to rise into the sky. Come, Dorothy, cried the wizard. Hurry up, or the balloon will fly away.
I can't fly in total anywhere, replied Dorothy, who did not wish to leave her little dog behind, so had learned to crawl in the back at the kitchen, and Dorothy and so
She was within a few steps of it, and Oz was holding out his hands to help her into the basket, when crack went the ropes, and the balloon rose into the air without her.
Come back, she screamed. I won't go too. I can come back, my dears, called Oz from the basket. Goodbye.
Goodbye, shouted everyone, and all eyes were turned upward to where the wizard was riding in the basket, rising every moment farther and farther into the sky.
And over the last annual diamonds of the source of Oz, wonderfully those he may have reached Omaha safely, and be there now for all we know.
People remembered him lovingly, and said to one another, Oz was always our friend. When he was here, this beautiful Emerald City, and now he's gone, he has left a wise Scarecrow to rule over us. They grieved over the loss of the wonderful wizard, and would not be comforted.
The end. Smart Oz. And this story is a little bit scientific.